y'all, welcome back. I'm Mama Dr. Jones, a board-certified OBGYN, a mom to 4, and today we're busting 5 myths about UTIs that you probably still believe. I am all dressed up today. If you're not new here, you know that is not the norm. I had to get dressed up for something else and I thought, hey, I'll just film a video while we're at it, so here we are. If you are new here and would like to subscribe, we would love to have you. We talk about all things pregnancy and gynecology and sometimes other stuff too. If you don't like learning about things like that, then don't subscribe because I guarantee you're going to leave with things you want to tell your friends. So before we can go over 5 myths about UTIs that you probably still believe, it might make sense if we just said what a UTI is. UTI stands for urinary tract infection. This is an infection in the bladder. It can also extend up into the kidneys in some cases, and it's more common in people who were born with a uterus. The reason for that is that the urethra tends to be shorter, meaning bacteria from the outside can get into the urethra and bladder more easily, but it can happen in anyone. The most common cause of a UTI is something called E. coli, which is a bacteria, but there's a lot of other things that can cause it as well. It usually presents with dysuria, which is a fancy word for pain when you pee, and sometimes urgency, meaning you're feeling like you're needing to go to the bathroom immediately and you may not make it, and frequency, meaning you're going to the bathroom all the time, but you're not letting out large amounts of urine with any of those trips, and sometimes just general pelvic pain. Some people may also occasionally have a fever, especially if they've had the UTI a little bit longer. We diagnose this in the clinic with a urinalysis, which looks at the composition of your urine and some of the different things in your urine, and a urine culture, which puts some of that urine onto a petri dish to see what grows. It can also just be diagnosed clinically with symptoms in people who have had urinary tract infections before, because usually if you've had it before, you can identify that it's happening again. However, if you're having UTIs frequently, especially if you're getting treated for them frequently, it probably makes sense to go ahead and get a urinalysis and a urine culture just to make sure we're not treating the wrong thing. Now let's jump into those 5 myths that we need to bust today. Number 1, bad hygiene causes UTIs. This is so far from the truth. You cannot give yourself a UTI from bad hygiene. UTIs are most often caused by bacteria that is supposed to be on your skin. That means it normally lives there. And different factors like your hormones, your general body makeup, and all kinds of other things can contribute to getting a UTI, but how often you bathe or how hygienic you are is definitely not one of those. If you've had a UTI before, please, please, please don't feel like this is related to hygiene. Some people are just more prone to them than others, and it's not anything to be ashamed about. You just need to let your doctor or advanced practice provider know so we can get you taken care of. It's also not an STD. That's not one of the 5 myths, but it's one I thought I would throw in. It's not a sexually transmitted infection. Myth number 2, UTIs are caused from bubble baths. This is definitely not true, but let's talk a little bit about bubble baths while we're at it. Sometimes bubble baths can be irritating to the skin around the vulva. That's really sensitive skin, especially the labia minora and the entrance into the vagina, and that's really close to where the urethra sits. So sometimes people who have sensitive skin will get lots of irritation and itching and redness from taking bubble baths. This is really common in young kids as well. And actually one of my daughters had super sensitive skin and couldn't take bubble baths. And my son also has super sensitive skin and can't take bubble baths because they just end up with redness and itching and it's no good. So if you or someone you know is frequently having these symptoms after bubble baths, it may be the soap that's in that bubble bath. It also could be related to things like bath bombs that people like to use to relax in the bathtub. So usually what I tell my patients is if you're having the sensitivity, then try to avoid taking bubble baths. But if you still want like the nice smell and relaxation of a bath bomb, a nice alternative option is to put it in the base of your shower and let it fill the shower. It's not a perfect substitute for a bubble bath if you're the type of person that likes to take them, but I promise your vulva will be so much more happy if you are not exposing it to those harsh chemicals that are causing sensitivity. If you like to take bubble baths and they don't bother you or make your vulva red or itchy, then that's totally fine. You can take bubble baths. It doesn't cause UTIs or other problems. Number 3, everything painful with peeing is a UTI. Totally totally not the truth, which is why I added in earlier that if you're having UTIs and you're getting treated and they're not getting better, we need to make sure it's not something else. Other things that can cause pain with urination or dysuria are sexually transmitted infections, things like gonorrhea and chlamydia, or even herpes, which can cause ulcers on the skin that burn when urine touches them, vaginitis, which is an infection inside the vagina, other things like interstitial cystitis, or even dermatologic or skin conditions. So everything that causes burning with peeing is not a UTI. If you're getting treated and it's not getting better, that's worth going to the doctor or advanced practice provider and getting that checked out. That was definitely not an exhaustive list of everything that can cause pain with peeing, but it is some of the more common things that we see. Number 4, cranberry juice, or AZO, which is sold over the counter in stores, will cure a UTI. This is unfortunately not true. There is some literature that's not great, but okay, about cranberry juice in the prevention of UTIs. But there's also a lot of literature that says it doesn't actually work. It's probably not harmful. So if you get frequent UTIs and you want to try increasing your cranberry juice intake, it might help. However, I want to be very clear here that nothing you can buy over the counter, including cranberry juice or AZO, which is sold over the counter in stores, will cure a UTI. AZO or AZO will make the pain of a UTI a little bit less, but it doesn't get rid of actual bacteria if it has gotten into the bladder and urethra and caused an infection. UTIs can only be treated if they're actually UTIs with antibiotics. So there's no harm in taking these things if they make you feel better, but you still probably need to get real treatment if you have a UTI. And again, the cranberry juice thing is more that maybe it works as a preventative, but it's definitely not going to cure an active urinary tract infection. And number 5, UTIs are caused from sex. This one is not true, but has a relationship. So having sex does not automatically cause a UTI. However, people who are prone to UTIs might see an increased incidence or an increased frequency of them having UTIs around the time that they become sexually active. And if they are sexually active frequently, they may see more and more UTIs start to happen. So why is this? If sex doesn't cause UTIs, why will you see this? Sex doesn't cause UTIs in the way that everybody doesn't get a UTI if they have sex. But if you're having vaginal penetrative intercourse, that moves the bacteria around and makes it more likely to get up close to the urethra. So ways to decrease this are urinating after having sex. So if you are having vaginal intercourse, when you finish, go ahead and go to the bathroom and go pee. This may not always solve that in every case, and sometimes we will actually give people antibiotics that they will take preventatively after they have intercourse if they have proven urinary tract infections that are definitely related to sexual intercourse. So this is kind of one of those half-truths. People sometimes think like, oh my gosh, I'm having sex now, I'll start getting UTIs. That's definitely not the case for most people. However, some people who are already prone to UTIs may notice that they start having them or they get them more frequently once they become sexually active. I hope that you learned something today. Leave a like on this video if you learned something. Tell me down in the comments what you learned, and subscribe if you would like to see more content like this. Be kind to yourself, to each other, to me. In the comments, be kind, and I will see you next Monday. The Vaccinated Because Science shirt is available at the link below. Check them out if you're interested.